KSJE and the Farmington Public Library present Cuentos Hahne and Tales.
Hello, welcome to Cuentos Hahne and Tales. My name is Melanie Leeson, and I work at the Farmington Public Library. I am going to be reading some of my favorite books to you today. The first one is called The Berenstain Bears Go Out to Eat by Jan and Mike Berenstain. Everyone in the bear family works hard. Brother and sister go to school and do their homework every evening. They have chores to do around the house as well. Honey Bear's job is to be curious about everything and anything. Papa makes good, solid furniture and sells it to folks around bear country. All these jobs are important and take lots of work. But everyone knows Mama Bear works the hardest of all. Mama does most of the cleaning, cooking, washing, and ironing. On top of that, she does a lot of the gardening and yard work. Taking care of Honey Bear is almost a full-time job in itself. Of course, Papa and the cubs are grateful for all of Mama's hard work. They try to help her out as much as possible. Every night they do the dishes after dinner so Mama can rest and watch the evening news on TV. But sometimes they like to do something extra special for Mama. One evening when Mama was very tired after a long, hard day, Brother and sister whispered something into Papa's ear. Said Papa, smiling. A very good idea. My dear, he said, turning to Mama, get your hat and shawl. We are going out to eat at the Bear Country Grill. It's time you had a night off. Yay! Cried brother and sister. Yay! Cried Honey. Mama smiled. How nice. We haven't been out to eat in a long time. There will be a wait of about half an hour, Mama said at the restaurant. A whole half an hour? Said sister. That's nearly forever, complained brother. I'm so hungry. I know what, said Papa. Mama, why don't you stay here while I take the cubs for a walk? Papa didn't really want to stand around waiting himself. A fine idea, agreed Mama, who thought relaxing on a bench for a little while sounded quite nice. Papa and the cubs set off toward a little duck pond on the far side of the parking lot. They saw a mother duck with ducklings. Papa had some crackers in his pocket, and the cubs had a fine time feeding the ducks. When the crackers were gone, they said goodbye to the ducks and headed back to the restaurant. By then, Mama was so relaxed she was nearly asleep. Let's play I Spy, suggested Papa. I spy something pink. Sister's hair bow, said Brother. That was quick, said Papa. I'll think of a harder one, said Brother, staring into the distance. Okay. I spy something. Just then the restaurant hostess told them that their table was ready. To be continued, said Mama, sitting up and stretching. After dinner. We're starving, said Brother and sister, grabbing some bread. Just a minute, said Mama. I don't want you two filling up on bread. You won't eat your dinner. Aw, Mama, said the cubs. No arguments, please, said Mama. This is my evening out, and what I say goes. Mama cut each cub a slice of bread and then had the basket taken away. Yes, Mama, said the cubs. Honey had a sippy cup of juice, but she wanted a big glass of water like everyone else. She leaned out of her high chair to grab one, but knocked the glass over instead. Water spilled everywhere. Oh dear, said Mama, trying to sop the water up with her napkin. You take it easy, Mama, said Papa, leaping up. I'll get it. But Papa's elbow knocked over his water, too. With some help from the server, they managed to get it all cleaned up. "Are you ready to order now?" their server asked. As a matter of fact, they had been too busy to look at their menus, but now they were too hungry to wait any longer. "I'll have a hamburger and French fries," said Brother. "Me too," said Sister. "Just a minute," said Mama. "The hamburger is okay, but not the fries. You both need some healthy vegetables. 2 side orders of broccoli, please." "Broccoli," said the cubs in disappointment. "Remember," warned Mama, "this is my evening out." "Yes, Mama," the cubs said. Mama and Papa ordered their dinners along with something for Honey. Then they had to wait and wait and wait. Mama brought coloring books and crayons out of her bag. Mama was always prepared. The cubs colored away happily for a long time. But the restaurant was very busy, and they still had a long time to wait. "Is my dinner ready yet?" Sister asked Papa. "Just a minute," he said. "I'll find out." He put his hand up to his ear, pretending to be on the phone. "Hello? Is this the kitchen? Sister Bear wants to know if her dinner is ready yet." "Okay, I'll tell her. They say it will be right out." "Very funny," she said. "Ha," said Brother. But just then their server did arrive with a big tray full of steaming food. "You see? I told you," said Papa. The whole family dug in hungrily. "Manners, please," said Mama. "Let's slow down a little." Before long, almost everything was gone, except for the broccoli. "I want to see every bit of that delicious broccoli eaten," said Mama. "It's chock full of vitamins." "Why do vitamins have to taste bad?" Brother grumbled, swallowing his broccoli with a gulp. "If you eat your broccoli, you get dessert," said Papa. "Hooray for dessert!" cried the cubs. Once the dinner plates were cleared away, everyone ordered vanilla ice cream with fresh blackberries. "This makes up for the broccoli," said Brother. "That's for sure," agreed Sister. "Sure," said Honey. After they finished eating, Papa paid the bill, and they all said goodbye to their server and the hostess. It was dark out now, and everything looked different. "That's for sure," they all agreed as they pulled out into the highway and headed for home. "Sure," said Honey. The end. The next book I'm going to read is called Days with Frog and Toad by Arnold Lobel. Tomorrow. Toad woke up. "Drat," he said. "This house is a mess. I have so much work to do." Frog looked through the window. "Toad, you were right," said Frog. "It is a mess." Toad pulled the covers over his head. "I will do it tomorrow," said Toad. "Today, I will take life easy." Frog came into the house. "Toad," said Frog, "your pants and jacket are lying on the floor." "Tomorrow," said Toad from under the covers. "Your sink is filled with dirty dishes," said Frog. "Tomorrow," said Toad. "There is dust on your chairs." "Tomorrow," said Toad. "Your windows need scrubbing," said Frog. "Your plants need watering." "Tomorrow," cried Toad. "I will do it all tomorrow." Toad sat on the edge of his bed. "Blah," said Toad. "I feel down in the dumps." "Why?" asked Frog. "I am thinking about tomorrow," said Toad. "I am thinking about all of the many things that I will have to do." "Yes," said Frog. "Tomorrow will be a very hard day for you." "But Frog," said Toad, "if I pick up my pants and jacket right now, then I will not have to pick them up tomorrow, will I?" "No," said Frog, "you will not have to." Toad picked up his clothes. He put them in the closet. "Frog," said Toad, "if I wash my dishes right now, then I will not have to wash them tomorrow, will I?" "No," said Frog, "you will not have to." Toad washed and dried his dishes. He put them in the cupboard. "Frog," said Toad, "if I dust my chairs and scrub my windows and water my plants right now, then I will not have to do it tomorrow, will I?" "No," said Frog, "you will not have to do any of it." Toad dusted his chairs. He scrubbed his windows. He watered his plants. "There," said Toad. "Now I feel better. I am not down in the dumps any more." "Why?" asked Frog. "Because I have done all that work," said Toad. "Now I can save tomorrow for something that I really want to do." "What is that?" asked Frog. "Tomorrow," said Toad, "I can take life easy." Toad went back to bed. He pulled the covers over his head and fell asleep. The kite. Frog and Toad went out to fly a kite. They went to a large meadow where the wind was strong. "Our kite will fly up and up," said Frog. "It will fly all the way up to the top of the sky." "Toad," said Frog, "I will hold this ball of string. You hold the kite and run." Toad ran across the meadow. He ran as fast as his short legs could carry him. The kite went up in the air. It fell to the ground with a bump. Toad heard laughter. 3 robins were sitting in a bush. "That kite will not fly," said the robins. "You may as well give up." Toad ran back to Frog. "Frog," said Toad, "this kite will not fly. I give up." "We must make a second try," said Frog. "Wave the kite over your head. Perhaps that will make it fly." Toad ran back across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. The kite went up into the air and then fell down with a thud. "What a joke," said the robins. "That kite will never get off the ground." Toad ran back to Frog. "This kite is a joke," he said. "It will never get off the ground." "We have to make a third try," said Frog. "Wave the kite over your head and jump up and down. Perhaps that will make it fly." Toad ran across the meadow again. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. The kite went up in the air and crashed down into the grass. "That kite is junk," said the robins. "Throw it away and go home." Toad ran back to Frog. "This kite is junk," he said. "I think we should throw it away and go home." "Toad," said Frog, "we need one more try. Wave the kite over your head, jump up and down, and shout, 'Up, kite, up!'" Toad ran across the meadow. He waved the kite over his head. He jumped up and down. He shouted, "Up, kite, up!" The kite flew into the air. It climbed higher and higher. "We did it!" cried Toad. "Yes," said Frog. "If a running try did not work, and a running and waving try did not work, and a running, waving, and jumping try did not work, I knew that a running, waving, jumping, and shouting try just had to work." The robins flew out of the bush, but they could not fly as high as the kite. Frog and Toad sat and watched their kite. It seemed to be flying way up at the top of the sky. Shivers. The night was cold and dark. "Listen to the wind howling in the trees," said Frog. "What a fine time for a ghost story." Toad moved deeper into his chair. "Toad," asked Frog, "don't you like to be scared? Don't you like to feel the shivers?" "I am not too sure," said Toad. Frog made a fresh pot of tea. He sat down and began a story. "When I was small," said Frog, "my mother and father and I went out for a picnic. On the way home, we lost our way. My mother was worried. 'We must get home,' she said. 'We do not want to meet the old dark frog.' 'Who is that?' I asked. 'A terrible ghost,' said my father. 'He comes out at night and eats little frog children for supper.'" Toad sipped his tea. "Frog," he asked, "are you making this up?" "Maybe yes, and maybe no," said Frog. My mother and father went to search for a path, said Frog. They told me to wait until they came back. I sat under a tree and waited. The woods became dark. I was afraid. Then I saw 2 huge eyes. It was the old, dark frog. He was standing near me. Frog, asked Toad, did this really happen? Maybe it did, and maybe it didn't, said Frog. Frog went on with the story. The dark frog pulled a jump rope out of his pocket. I am not hungry now, said the dark frog. I have eaten too many tasty frog children. But after I jump rope 100 times, I will be hungry again. Then I will eat you. The dark frog tied one end of the rope to a tree. Turn for me, he shouted. I turned the rope for the dark frog. He jumped 20 times. I am beginning to get hungry, said the dark frog. He jumped 50 times. I am getting hungrier, said the dark frog. He jumped 90 times. I am very hungry now, said the dark frog. What happened then? Asked Toad. I had to save my life, said Frog. I ran around and around the tree with the rope. I tied the old dark frog. He roared and screamed. I ran away fast. I found my mother and father, said Frog. We came safely home. Frog, asked Toad, was that a true story? Maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't, said Frog. Frog and Toad sat close by the fire. They were scared. The teacups shook in their hands. They were having the shivers. It was a good, warm feeling. The hat. On Toad's birthday, Frog gave him a hat. Toad was delighted. Happy birthday, said Frog. Toad pulled on the hat. It fell down over his eyes. I am sorry, said Frog. That hat is much too big for you. I will give you something else. No, said Toad. This hat is your present to me. I like it. I will wear it the way it is. Frog and Toad went for a walk. Toad tripped over a rock. He bumped into a tree. He fell in a hole. Frog, said Toad, I can't see anything. I will not be able to wear your beautiful present. This is a sad birthday for me. Frog and Toad were sad for a while. Then Frog said, Toad, here is what you must do. Tonight, when you go to bed, you must think some big thoughts. Those big thoughts will make your head grow larger. In the morning, your new hat may fit. What a good idea, said Toad. That night, when Toad went to bed, he thought the biggest thoughts he could think. Toad thought about giant sunflowers. He thought about tall oak trees. He thought about high mountains covered with snow. Then Toad fell asleep. Frog came into Toad's house. He came in quietly. Frog found the hat and took it to his house. He poured some water on the hat. He put the hat in a warm place to dry. It began to shrink. The hat grew smaller and smaller. Frog went back to Toad's house. Toad was still fast asleep. Frog put the hat back on the hook where he found it. When Toad woke up in the morning, he put the hat on his head. It was just the right size. Toad ran to Frog's house. Frog! Frog! He cried. All those big thoughts have made my head much larger. Now I can wear your present. Frog and Toad went for a walk. Toad did not trip over a rock. He did not bump into a tree. He did not fall in a hole. It turned out to be a very pleasant day after Toad's birthday. Alone. Toad went to Frog's house. He found a note on the door. The note said, Dear Toad, I am not at home. I went out. I want to be alone. Alone, said Toad. Frog has me for a friend. Why does he want to be alone? Toad looked through the windows. He looked in the garden. He did not see Frog. Toad went to the woods. Frog was not there. He went to the meadow. Frog was not there. Toad went down to the river. There was Frog. He was sitting on an island by himself. Poor Frog, said Toad. He must be very sad. I will cheer him up. Toad ran home. He made sandwiches. He made a pitcher of iced tea. He put everything in a basket. Toad hurried back to the river. Frog, he shouted. It's me. It's your best friend, Toad. Frog was too far away to hear. Toad took off his jacket and waved it like a flag. Frog was too far away to see. Toad shouted and waved, but it was no use. Frog sat on the island. He did not see or hear Toad. A turtle swam by. Toad climbed on the turtle's back. Turtle, said Toad, carry me to the island. Frog is there. He wants to be alone. If Frog wants to be alone, said the turtle, why don't you leave him alone? Maybe you were right, said Toad. Maybe Frog does not want to see me. Maybe he does not want me to be his friend anymore. Yes, maybe, said the turtle as he swam to the island. Frog, cried Toad, I am sorry for all the dumb things I do. I am sorry for all the silly things I say. Please be my friend again. Toad slipped off the turtle. With a splash, he fell in the river. Frog pulled Toad up onto the island. Toad looked into the basket. The sandwiches were wet. The pitcher of iced tea was empty. Our lunch is spoiled, said Toad. I made it for you, Frog, so that you would be happy. But Toad, said Frog, I am happy. I am very happy. This morning when I woke up, I felt good. Because the sun was shining, I felt good because I was a frog, and I felt good because I have you for a friend. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to think about how fine everything is. Oh, said Toad. I guess that is a very good reason for wanting to be alone. Now, said Frog, I will be glad not to be alone. Let's eat lunch. Frog and Toad stayed on the island all afternoon. They ate wet sandwiches without iced tea. Those two close friends sitting alone together. The end. The two books that I read today were The Berenstain Bears Go Out to Eat by Jan and Mike Berenstain, and Days with Frog and Toad by Arnold Lobel. These books and many others are available for checkout at the Farmington Public Library. You can find our events calendar with upcoming events online at www.infoway.org. Have a great day.
This has been Cuentos Hahne and Tales presented by the Farmington Public Library and KSJE 90.9 FM.